It was a time when pro wrestling was a pop culture phenomenon.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass.
Pay-per-view quality matches live on free TV every Monday night.
Monday, July 6, 1998. Goldberg captured the gold. Goldberg, at age 31, is the heavyweight champion of the world.
We look back at the battle between WCW Monday Nitro and WWF Monday Night Raw.
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch! What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
This is Reliving the War with Simon Tackler and Nims Azor.
You can call this the New World Order of Wrestling, brother.
Welcome, everyone, to a huge episode of Reliving the War. My name is Nims Azor, joined as always by my co-host and tag team partner, Simon Tackler. This is the podcast where we do exactly what it says in the title. We relive the Monday Night Wars, and we're very pumped for this one, Simon, because when it comes to things that kick off the so-called Monday Night War era, there are some tentpole events. Bash of the Beach 1996. We covered things like, Starrcade 97, which will come up very shortly. King of the Ring 96. But I think probably the biggest thing in terms of shaping wrestling history at that point is Survivor Series 1997.
Yeah, we can't understate how important this show is to all of wrestling from a storyline standpoint, characters, the way things would be handled backstage moving forward to contracts. This is a real turning point. And unfortunately, it's been copied to death over the past 25 years to diminishing returns every time. So it was kind of weird going back to see where it all started and where it was real for the first time. So yeah, this is a big one.
Oh, indeed. And you talk about the countless times it's been redone. It's been done. In fact, 1998, the WWF went and redid it. 1999, WCW did it. We've had TNA do it. It's just, AEW won't be a company until it recreates the Montreal Screwjob. That's what's going to happen. But now we're going to welcome in our next guest. And I know what you're thinking. No. Owen only joins us for WCW shows. This is WWF, Nims. Well, you know what? This is such a monumental pay-per-view that we've got to get Owen on board, because I'm pretty sure that this will be the first time that you've seen Survivor Series 1997 in its entirety. So welcome aboard, Owen. How's things, man?
Hello, friends. Yeah, thank you for having me for a different promotion. It feels like I've changed the channel during the Monday Night Wars. Like Bischoff has given me the results, and I've changed the channel to see if he's right or not. To watch WWF, but no, this is actually very exciting to watch, because I've seen the Screwjob match being a massive Bret Hart mark, but I haven't seen the whole pay-per-view, so it was very nice to take it all in and really and I've mentioned it in the notes, but really see just this really weird tension that just overlays the entire show.
Also, because you've seen a fair few WCW pay-per-views of this era, and you often hear us in the WWF shows just saying, how it is extremely different. Like the 3 hours that WCW put out are very different to the 3 hours that 2 hours, and then later on 3 hours that WWE put out. So it's almost like oil and water, the two presentations. But let's start off with the pay-per-view. Now, we say ad nauseum that the WWF's video packages are, streets ahead of WCW. But I don't know about you, Simon, but I thought that this video package really highlighted the rivalry between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Maybe not from day dot, but it certainly took it from when that spark first got in.
Yeah, this was a really good video. I kind of forgot about it, but the second it started, and then it would come up with the black and white titles of the date and have like a snapshot sound and then go into it. This was like flooding back to me. It starts at WrestleMania 12 as the first chapter. We see both men doing these kind of half-shoot interviews, which were the style at the time on Raw in 97, and they cut them both talking trash. Nobody feels like they hate each other more than Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. It's not that they're swearing. It just really feels like these guys are diametrically opposed in every way, and they just will not get along.
Another cool thing too is now this is something that probably I don't think you would have picked up on not having watched the product at the time. But so you know how in the very opening video, it's got Bret Hart after Shawn Michaels wins at WrestleMania 12. The next bit of footage you see is him going, oh, "This is a screw job. You know, I got screwed over. Blah 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 blah." Now that happened in '97. That piece of footage. So there's some pretty interesting revisionist history here, even in 1997, because it really makes it seem like after WrestleMania 12 that Bret was all like, oh, this is where I turned into a real whiny sort of cat and hated the USA. There's at least a full year where Bret is normal Bret. But what did you think of this little video package?
Hands down, I think this is the best intro video I've ever seen. Like, this was so well put together. And yeah, look, as you just like mentioned, there was that revisionist history put in there with the he screwed me, I was screwed, and he like hits the headset off of Vince McMahon. But I was so into this. Like, with like the WCW like intro videos, I don't really watch them because they are pretty dull and a bit boring. This intro video was like what, maybe 3.5, 4 minutes. It was quite long, but I was so into this, and yeah, it did catch up to speed because I haven't seen the Raws from that era because I was 2.5 years old. But I was just so blown away by this video production, and it absolutely poos all over WCW in terms of that. Like, I was so shocked and I guess like in awe as well about how well put together this video was and how hyped it made me. And how hyped it made me for a show where the main event, I know what happens.
Yeah.
But like, I was just so excited for the entire thing. I'm like, oh, I mean, like I kind of watched it through like 1997. I was like, man, I now have to wait 2.5 hours to see this match that they've hyped me up for. Because there was no mention for any other match on the show. It was just about Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. And I'm like, I have to sit through 2.5 hours to get to this match. I was actually really psyched. And then I had to sit through 2.5 hours of matches.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes of the pay-per-view, because it starts off now. There's no Vince at the announce table. It is just JR and King. And we talk about how slick the WWF production is at the time. A rare off night, because when JR and King throw to the foreign announce teams, it seems like their audio just decides to, we don't want to go here. So that was a little bit disappointing, but we get to...
Also, the floor caught fire. I thought that's what you were going to talk about.
I picked up on that too.
Pyro. Yeah. Did you think it was on purpose, Owen, when it first happened? And then it just kept burning?
I split second, I was like, oh, maybe they had like a fire blanket down there. But then they cut away from it straight away. I'm like, floor was on fire. They lit the floor on fire. So, but then also I popped for the fact that there was Carlos Cabrera and Ray Rougeau, who still call WWF pay-per-views today.
Yeah, it is pretty insane, that part. We get to the ring announcing. Now, this is a French-Canadian ring announcer whose name comes up on the screen later on, which is Albert Diffusia, I believe was the name. That's the name.
Who I believe has passed away.
Oh, may God rest his soul then.
I couldn't find like much on him at all, but it did redirect me to a website. It was like wrestlerswhohavedied.com.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I take it from a very, I'll put it as a reliable source, seeing as the title of the website. So
I'll scratch out all my notes about him. No, I have nothing bad to say about him. I thought he added a lot. I thought he gave the show a really different vibe because he would do the
really
French
enjoyed
Canadian.
it.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was so cool too.
Like, what's he saying all the time?
Because it was really cool, because it also added to that other dimension of we're in Canada now as well too. Like, one night only was such a different sort of pay-per-view because it had the different ring announcer, which was kind of cool. But we get to our first match, which is the Headbangers and the New Blackjacks versus Badass Billy Gunn, Road Dogg with 1G, and the Godwins. Now, if this isn't a sign of the times where the Road Dogg comes out and says, well, first off, the Headbangers and the New Blackjacks come out first. But then when Road Dogg and Badass Billy Gunn, they're not yet the Outlaws at this point in time, come out with the Godwins, and Road Dogg says the Steers and Queers have made their way to the ring. you sort of know what 97's like. The landscape is.
Although, to be fair, this is the first time we're seeing the Outlaws as they would become on pay-per-view. What a world of difference a random thrown together team makes, because if we saw these guys show up on a pay-per-view even just a month before, it would be an absolute snooze fest. Not that this match was good in the ring, that doesn't matter, but the Road Dogg on the mic and Billy Gunn with that attitude, they feel like completely new people now.
Well, do you remember, Simon? So we actually, the last time we saw Billy Gunn was in the UK when he was really being made to be a chump by Ken Shamrock, who was injured.
Yeah.
So it's a big change of fortunes there for badass Billy Gunn. The Godwins still somehow managed to plague us during these things. At least Billy Gunn has evolved from the smoking gun days. But Owen, obviously you've just been fired up with a great video package. The crowd is hot. You get this match. What did you think?
Yeah, the Montreal Fire Department came through and put the fire out for me, unfortunately. Yeah, look, I must say, Moustache Bradshaw is a vibe. I don't know why, but I was vibing the moustache on good old JBL. But no, I this match wasn't too bad. Like it was a 4-man Survivor Series match with people I didn't really know nor cared about. But also return of the Napalm Death shirt, Simon.
Yes, the Headbangers love. There were certain shirts it felt like they would always rotate. Napalm Death, Marilyn Manson.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think.
Did they have a South Park one?
Or was that more an oddities thing? It all blurs together. But yeah, they love the Napalm Death and Marilyn Manson.
But I did like how the Napalm Death shirt, it was actually a long sleeve shirt, but they cut like gills in it from the shoulder down to the cuff. And it actually looked kind of cool. I wouldn't do it personally to my shirts these days, but I didn't mind it. But JR said one of my favorite things that, like, I think every commentator in wrestling says it like at one point in their career, when he was like, Phineas zigged when he should have zagged. Yeah. That line of commentary always pops me, and it always makes me feel really like, I love it. That's cool, like a little wrestling talk. 3 things I found in the crowd. There was a New Zealand flag, hard cam side.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Popped up a lot throughout the show. There was a sign that said Owen, the real hitman.
Oh, that's
Owen
good.
Hart. I was like, okay, it's a little bit of family rivalry in the crowd here in Montreal. But also the last one which popped me was good luck in WCW, Brett. There was a sign on, it was like front row as well. It said good luck in.
This was in the era before
going to WCW at that point in time. Like, was it announced?
Yeah, everyone knew. It was like if you followed the dirt sheets or had any knowledge further than what you see on TV, you knew he was going.
Okay.
Yeah. Although it was weird, that sign, because was it disrespectful, like good luck in WCW, or was it sincere? That's what I liked about it. You could take it either way.
I think it was being held by like a teenage girl, so I reckon it was probably sincere.
Oh, yeah. And they're in Canada. They're notoriously polite. So,
how good was this era, though? The thing I loved, before they started censoring signs and what you could bring, you just look around and you find the craziest thing. Like, that's half of the fun of these pay-per-views, seeing what you could find. There was one sign I noticed during the match, though. I would love to know what it said, because it was blurred out. It said something kicks ass. What on earth would be blurred in 97?
Well, I can tell you right now. If we get to the next match, they've actually, you're probably right. They will blur out, because they have blurred out a WWF sign beforehand.
Okay, maybe that's simple. Just WWF kicks ass.
But maybe. This is the thing, though, because in the next match, which we'll get to in a moment, there is a sign that just says Undertaker is not homosexual, but the derogatory term for that one. But we'll get to that match in a minute. You talk about you. I will like call you out on one thing, though, Simon. You do mention how this was a cool match to show you the time. It is also a great advertisement on how bad the tag division is in WWE in 1997.
Yeah, we've
glaring contrast from WCW.
We have discussed this. The one part of 97 that WCW had WWE beat hands down, the tag team division. WWE's tag team division wouldn't come alive again for about another year. Maybe in 98, you could argue things started to get rolling again. But my God, why would you start a pay-per-view with this match? We got to talk about some of the eliminations because this was typical Survivor Series rubbish where people would get pinned with a clothesline, with a shoulder up, and, you know, the ref would just be like, oh, whatever, I'm just counting to 3. We're wrapping this up. It was a weird match.
And that's just the nature of a Survivor Series match because, you know, and Lord knows we don't want to see 20 minutes for each elimination with these 4 dudes. With these 8 guys on these teams. And you talk about, like, I would actually go as far as saying that it's not until the Brood and the Hardys come in 99 that the WWF tag division actually gets some momentum because you still have mishmash teams. You've still got, like, you know, DX. Look, never had a tag run.
It's basically the Outlaws carry 98, and that was such a big deal that it feels like tag team wrestling was something in the WWE, but it was basically them too and no one else.
Yeah, along with like Kane and Mankind would be thrown together. Then you'd have, like, you know, Shamrock and Bossman were also a team during the corporation days. So, and I can just tell by Owen's like reaction to like that these aren't matches he's going to be chasing down on the network.
No, I definitely won't be searching through it anytime soon and trying to find all this kind of stuff. I think I might just I might be a one-eyed WCW supporter.
But I've the one note that I've put after, so Billy Gunn and Road Dogg are the survivors, and don't get any music to wrap up, but the final note that I've put here is this is a direct question to you, Simon. How much Billy Gunn have we seen doing this show? Like, in the tenure of us doing Reliving the War, it seems to be way too Billy Gunn heavy.
Billy Gunn had a hell of a run in 96 with the Smoking Guns on almost every pay-per-view. He limped through 97 as Rockabilly, but we aren't done with the Gunn show. Things are going to the next level in 98, so get ready.
And then you fast forward to 2021, and he's still going and looks really good, probably with some assistance, but also, like, he still works really well. Like, yeah, he wrestles like an old guy because he is, but, like, he still goes really, really hard.
And there is a reason, like, he wasn't like one of the trainers down in NXT, and you can sort of tell that for a reason. But let's get to the next match, which is the Truth Commission versus the DOA. This match might have been called the Who versus the What, because now, as I mentioned, like, there was that sign that says Undertaker is not a homosexual, which was good clarification from the from the crowd in Canada there. But I was really shocked because DOA got cheers, and I completely forgot about the Truth Commission. It was only when, you know, you saw them really trying to strap a rocket to Kurgan that you're like, oh, that's right, they were a thing back in the day. Because weren't they billed as originally being from South Africa?
Yeah, so originally, before the Jackal, aka Don Callis, was their manager, for a short time they had a guy, I think he was just called like the Commandant or whatever. He was a South African actor that Bret Hart met while filming a TV show. Blame Bret for the Truth Commission. He thought this guy was such a good actor and character that he vouched for him and got him a job in the WWE as a manager, even though this guy had no wrestling experience. And this is where the whole gimmick sprung from.
What's funny too is when so Kurgan at this point in time, who's the giant dude, is the interrogator, and the King within the first minutes of the match goes, I don't think anyone knows who the interrogator is. And he's pretty spot on there. One other thing that was pretty cool. So a couple of things to note about this. So this is Crush's last WWF pay-per-view appearance. He would, spoiler alert, later on go to join the NWO and then be one half of Chronic. Amazing that, like, and I can't wait till we get to the 2000s WCW, because I feel like nostalgia has really given me a rose-colored glasses when it comes to Chronic.
Yeah, I think we all thought they were cool for about a year there. So I'm interested to see if it holds up, because DOA Crush definitely doesn't hold up, just like Nation Crush didn't hold up. Talk about a guy who's had too many gimmicks.
Demolition Crush,
Yeah.
Kona Crush.
Kona Crush. Lots of crushes.
He always
Orange
builds from
Crush.
Japan. Oh, always build from Japan too, which I always find amusing. Another one too, Recon, is actually Bill Buchanan.
He looked good in this match, I will say. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, didn't look too bad. And the thing that really, and I wonder if you picked up on this, Owen. So as you mentioned, Simon, the Jackal is Don Callis, who's still in action to this day. But when he's on commentary, the amount of times that he, when he says the Truth Commission are military men, is countless. He kept saying it. What the hell was up with that?
Did you also notice the fact that he quoted Coolio?
Did he? I missed it. What did he say?
Oh, I must have missed that one. Yeah.
He quoted the first line of Gangsta's Paradise.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Yeah.
I
I'm
missed
like,
that one.
okay. Cyrus listens to Coolio, apparently.
Look, I think that is taken from a
but-
prayer, but it's 97. I'm pretty sure he stole it from Coolio.
He 100% stole it from Coolio.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the next night on Raw he rocked up with like cornrows like Coolio does. I must say though, Nims, to add to the who versus the what in terms of this match, I did like the fact that JR just doesn't hide that he doesn't know who is who.
When JR is uninterested, he doesn't even pretend to be. He just like whatever.
But I must say though, what I found really like this was like the blaring thing I found like I focused on in this entire match was the fact that JR likened Cyrus to David Koresh.
A lot
Like
too.
4 or 5 times he was like, he's like David Koresh. I'm like, oh, okay, so he's the cult leader.
Mm-hmm.
So this match's sole purpose is to make Kurgan into an absolute monster, sorry, the interrogator. So he is the sole survivor in the match, and all I got to say, we talked about the wacky eliminations and the really how a Survivor Series match really sort of changes what can lead to a pinfall. All I can say is this match is the celebration of the Sidewalk Slam. Like, it is Sidewalk Slam City.
Oh my God. Kurgan clean sweeps that whole team with the Sidewalk Slam. It was like a kid who you're trying to be nice to and play SmackDown against. You try and explain the buttons, but he only presses left and circle nonstop.
Yeah.
And he somehow beats you, and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah,
Kurgan
this is you playing your 4-year-old cousin in WCW Revenge, and he's picked Kevin Nash.
Exactly. Although, shout out to Kurgan. He might not have been much of a wrestler, but his Hollywood career is impressive. Like, you might recognize him. He was in Sherlock Holmes. He fought Robert Downey Jr. He was in 300. And the biggest wrestling tie-in, he was in the Hercules movie with The Rock. So you can say he wrestled The Rock on the big screen. It's not too bad.
There you go. Finally got that payoff.
Yeah, exactly.
Take that, Kurgan. And all of a sudden, Nathan Jones's career in WWE when he takes on Brad Pitt. No, actually, he jobs to Brad Pitt in Troy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gets stabbed in the neck. So there you go. Kurgan over Nathan Jones.
We get to our next little segment here. It's a nice little vox pop. And surprisingly, it's a 50-50 split between the fans who they think will win the WWF title match. One thing that I did find really, really cool is it's awesome hearing the phrase D Generation X in a French accent.
Sounded very fancy.
There is just something very, very classy about that.
I must say, I loved what King said at the end when they threw back to the live feed from this, and he goes, "I'm looking at my calendar to see if it's Halloween. Look at some of the faces of these people." That popped me more than it probably should have.
When King is on his like Rodney Dangerfield sort of esque kind of jokes, I'm all for that. Like, those are fine. Those age perfectly. Whereas it's his other questionable stuff that's a little bit like, I think you're going a little bit low here. But we get to another little bit too, which is the AOL online cross. Now, I'm going to turn to you, Owen, because you've seen the WCWWrestling.com crosses they do backstage in the WCW pay-per-views. This is the WWF version. It's with AOL Online. You just have to put in the keyword superstar. Kevin Kelly Ring of Honor's Kevin Kelly is there, and he does the cross with Stone Cold Steve Austin. When you compare this to, say, Disco Inferno at the WCW Online booth or DDP, how do you think this one stacks up?
I'm not gonna lie. Once I saw it was Kevin Kelly, I lost my mind. I think because Kevin Kelly to me is like he's just New Japan Pro Wrestling for me. Like I completely forgot he had a WWF run, and I was just like so popping over the fact it was Kevin Kelly. I didn't really pay attention to this segment, but I must say, I do miss our pimply faced kid from WCW slapping him at the keyboard louder than a Harley Davidson motorcycle, but like he did at Road Wild. But no, this segment was they structured a lot different to the WCW ones. I guess they have to try and stick out because they're both trying to achieve the same thing.
Yeah, I got to say, I kind of liked it because it's funny. We've looked back at some of these online segments from both promotions and we'll make fun of it like, oh, look at this guy. Scott Steiner doesn't know anything about the internet or whatever. Austin is looking on so intently after his promo at the screen and the keyboard. And it's funny to think, out of a lot of the wrestlers, he's one of the funniest wrestlers on Twitter and uses his Instagram quite a bit. So I'm liking to think that Austin learned everything about social media in this segment.
He also has got some of the best. When he first started doing the Steve Austin show, he is the best live reads you'll ever get.
Yeah.
And Simon and I in our travels would have done a hell of a lot of crappy live reads. Somehow, if you get Stone Cold Steve Austin to read something about a mattress, it pops off the page. It is so good. Another thing too, like as we talk about Austin harnessing social media, one of the funniest things is you would have seen that meme about, when your friend gets a girlfriend and settles down. It's that photo of Stone Cold Steve Austin sitting in a garden drinking a glass of red wine. What I love about that is Austin saw that, addressed it, and explained the full context about that, like very seriously. Like he's just like, oh, I was just out there with my wife and we were just, had a good barbecue. And he's legitimately explaining the premise of the picture, not like, oh, it's a cool little meme.
Yeah. But you never know with him. That could be him running with the joke. Like when he's done full Twitter threads about like fighting a fly that was in his room. Steve Austin, you never know. Weird guy, but the best.
He's a very, very entertaining cat there. And one last little tidbit, since I'll sneak this in too. If you notice, so the little nameplate that comes up that says like Bret Hart or whoever it is entering to the ring, the font that is used for any font aficionados, it is the same one that is used by Hootie and the Blowfish on their Cracked Rear View album.
What a great album. What an amazing album.
So there's your fun little there's a fun little fact for you there. As we quickly move to the little backstory between Steve Blackman. Like his debut, when you think about it, is absolutely amazing. And I'll be honest with you, Simon, I completely forgot about it. Like how he entered, the WWF canon.
I thought, to me, I just picture Steve Blackman. He came in as like martial artists, the lethal weapon. He was billed as a fan who jumped the rail to try and save Team America from the Canadians. And then he was such a badass that Vader was like, I want this guy on my Survivor Series team. That is an amazing origin story. It's just problematic because we watched Halloween Havoc where Sting Dude jumped into the main event and no one offered that guy a contract. So it sets a weird standard for fans during the Monday Night War.
I must say though, me being me and being quite pedantic, I actually looked in this. I know Steve Blackman and I've seen some stuff. I'm a fan of it because he did work Japan for a while too. I just wanted to see the career of Steve Blackman. He actually debuted for Stampede in 1986. And then he actually did work a few WWF house shows in 1988 and 89. And was actually on an episode of Superstars, like 1 or 2 episodes of Superstars. And he was being considered to be signed full time, but then he wrestled in South Africa and contracted dysentery and malaria.
Wow.
He was bedridden for 2 years and then spent 4 years after that recovering. So that puts it through to about 1997. And that's when this storyline kicks off.
Oh my God. So the lost years of Steve Blackman, he could have debuted years earlier if it wasn't for
He could have
malaria.
debuted in 1991.
Wow. That is an amazing bit of research, actually.
I like to think that he would have debuted in 1991 attacking Sergeant Slaughter for betraying because that's his big thing. He protects the wrestlers that protect America. So that's his calling card. And he's just been sitting on ice until like, hey, we've got a story for you, Steve. Quick, what are you doing? Come down to the arena. Just to add
sorry, Nims, you go.
Oh no! Just to add to his origin story too, Simon. The bit that you forgot to mention in that entire thing is so after he, the fan jumps the guardrail and attacks Team Canada and then gets restrained, he gets arrested. Vader is the one that bails him, according to storyline, and then says, "I want him in the team."
Nice. That's so good. We need that. I wish they filmed that as a vignette, because imagine Vader rocking up to like the police station. And he's like, "Oh, you bailed me, but you barely even know me, Vader." And Vader's like, "But I know you love America." And they leave the jail together. It's so good. I do want to say though, actually,
and then he gives Steve Blackman a tiny little Vader mask.
And the one weird thing though, just thinking about this is the same way that Ernest Miller debuted in WCW as well. He was a karate guy, he was a fan, and he jumped in to save Glacier. Lucky this didn't start a trend where martial arts dudes were in the crowd and they were like, "Oh, I can just run in and I'll probably get signed and start kicking people." That would have been bad.
Yeah, you have like a former Taekwondo champion deciding to just jump the guardrail to help out the Patriot.
Yeah, exactly.
Then Daniel LaRusso comes in and so does Johnny, and it's just the Karate Kid all over again.
I'd be all for it.
So let's get to this match. It's Team USA versus Team Canada. Now, Team USA comes out to the Patriot theme, aka Kurt Angle's theme, despite the fact that the Patriot is nowhere to be seen. And we forgot to mention this. Mark Merrow. Mark Merrow is back, coincidentally, after his theme was used all across Halloween Havoc 1997. So it must have signaled his return to the promised land.
Yeah, this is the first time we're seeing Mark Merrow as Marvelous Mark Merrow as well, doing the boxer gimmick. He's cut the hair for the first time in his career. Look, let's be honest. I know there's a lot of criticism of Mark Merrow, and he's kind of a punching bag for whatever reason. He looks good. He can talk. He wrestles pretty well. Like, the presentation's good. It just
got a good finisher.
Awesome finisher. It just, for whatever reason, never all clicks for him. Obviously, he's overshadowed by Sable, but either way, bit of a shame when you look back.
Let's not forget too, we also have the return of Phil LaFon and Doug Furness. They're back after, is it Survivor Series 96 was the last time we saw them?
It feels like that's all they did, but yeah, they're back.
Just before we move fully into the match, I know you guys mentioned it on the show a couple episodes ago, but that Team America music with the Kurt Angle music, it just feels really weird not seeing Kurt Angle walk out to it.
Yeah, no Kurt Angle, no "You Suck" chance. It's weird, but it is such a great song. There's a reason why they've gone back to it so many times. It's awesome.
Hearing the best way to put that pop culture, my way of sort of explaining it to anyone that doesn't quite get just how iconic it is as Kurt Angle's theme, even though it's not originally his. It's just like Torn by Natalie Imbruglia is a cover, but no one knows that. That's how I like to sort of think of Kurt Angle's theme here. But the fun thing about Team Canada as well, there is only one Canadian on Team Canada.
Canadian.
And they use Brett's theme for Team Canada, which means if we're doing national anthems in WWF land, Patriot theme / Kurt Angle theme is America. Canada's theme is Bret Hart's, and I assume England would be British Bulldog, and whatever other country is. Oh, Tiger Ali Sings would be the India theme.
I got to say, though, using the Bret Hart music was a good idea, because Team Canada gets a huge pop here from Montreal. They lose it.
They are absolutely well behind Team Canada here, despite the fact there's only one Canadian. And that Canadian is, I think it's Doug Furness, or is it Phil LaFon that's the Canadian?
I think Furness. He's from Oklahoma, actually, because JR goes on about that quite a bit.
Oh, That doesn't sound like JR. As you mentioned, the crowd is absolutely hot for Team Canada here. And all I can say is if the last match was a celebration of the Sidewalk Slam, well, this is the celebration of the count-out.
Yeah, look, okay, regardless of the eliminations, this match was at least a step up. This was okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, but there was some good stuff depending on the combination. At one point, Bulldog slams Vader off the top rope like Ric Flair style and then just hits a suplex. It's very impressive. Bulldog was the star of this match, I thought.
Yeah.
Bulldog definitely was the star of the match, but also at the same time, Vader's got a new sort of a new lick of paint here. He's like, I don't know how much of his WWF run you would have seen, Owen, but this is the Vader of old. We're seeing him like motivated. He's actually doing some pretty cool power moves here, and he's not being treated like the loser he was after that horrible main event with not horrible, I shouldn't say. It was a good main event with Shawn Michaels, but it sort of killed him dead in the water back in 1996. But what did you think of this match, Owen? Because it was definitely a step up from the last two Survivor Series matches we saw.
Well, yeah, maybe the kick in the head gave him a bit of confidence from thanks to Mr. Michaels, because Vader was really working out of his boots in this one. But yeah, it's crazy to think like, because Bulldog left with Brett, didn't he? Or not long after?
Yeah, he leaves with him. But then he comes back. So does
Neidhart.
Later. Yeah,
Neidhart leaves as well. Owen's the only one left.
Yeah, okay. And like it's really crazy, isn't it? Like a lot of people, especially myself, like if you see you think of British Bulldog and you the first thing you see in your head is like the long braids.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see him with short hair and he's still kicking ass, and like he looks like he's getting on. I say he's getting on, but he was probably nearly 40 at this stage, because he was about the same age as Brett.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Bulldog was just on fire in this match. Like every time he was in the ring, I was really excited to see what he was going to do. Yeah, look, all I've got is like, all in all, quite a good match. It was quite enjoyable, a lot better compared to the last two Survivor Series matches on the pay-per-view. But I actually quite enjoyed this match. It was a little bit more exciting, and a little bit, obviously there was more story behind it with the whole Canada versus USA thing. But yeah, I actually quite enjoyed this one. I thought it was pretty cool.
Even though it's not the greatest advertisement for a Survivor Series match, I think the fact that you've got the added backstory of Team USA versus Team Canada gives it a bit more context and a bit more fuel to sort of get through it. Not only that, too, how good, Simon, is JR chastising Goldust when he walks out?
Oh, yeah, we've got to talk about Goldust, because that's the other thing that makes this match good. The work's good, the crowd's into it because of Team Canada. And there's a story running through where Goldust refuses to tag because Goldust is now in his emo phase of being forever unchained. F you. He had just left Marlena in the story, so now he was all depressed and he doesn't want to tag and he hates everything. And JR, you're right, is just getting stuck into Goldust, calling him not a real man because he doesn't want to pay child support and whatever, and he's abandoned his wife. And yeah, it's pretty great. It was good.
It's one of my favorite little highlights of this match too. And going back to what Owen says about the Bulldog, you forget that there's actually quite a good run. People said, if we're talking forgotten eras of the British Bulldog, him in WCW, at least his second run, because he was pretty big in '93 WCW. Like he was still in main events and things like that, and he still had the dreads too. But like him going to WCW with Brett really put a nail in the coffin of his career, basically, because when he came back to WWE in 1999, it was a nostalgia act, kind of. It was just like, oh, it's the Bulldog. We love the Bulldog. Remember the Bulldog? Then it was just like, oh, yeah, it's the Bulldog.
Yeah, by that point, he had the back injury from WCW, and it was never the same. But yeah, it is kind of forgotten, though, how great his run is from like late 94 when he comes back to 97. He's one of the most solid guys on every pay-per-view. I think every show we've reviewed over the past 2 years, Bulldog, if he's in a match, it's usually good.
Yeah. Yeah, him and Owen pretty much are the tag team division in this little run here. But speaking of the Bulldog, he is the sole survivor. And like Owen said, this is probably the best of the Survivor Series matches that we've had so far. We then get to a little segment, a live read for Milton Bradley's Karate Fighters, and Jacqueline Cook has won a Survivor Series Super Supper sweepstake. Which
You
I
did
thought was
it. Wow.
Wow.
I'll tell you, I know a thing or two about reading a couple of live reads. I can tell you that. But this is like another one of those disastrous WWF home viewer things. It's much better than the one that we saw at SummerSlam, though, wouldn't you say, Simon?
Yeah, this wasn't too bad. I got to say, this Jacqueline Cook lady sounded so excited to win. And then, so the premise of this competition, you win a supper with a wrestler. And this could not be legit. You just get to pick any wrestler on the roster and they have to have dinner for you. She aims high. She says Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was trying to Google it to see if it ever happened. But yeah, I don't know if she ever had dinner with Stone Cold, but how weird. How cool. What a weird
Maybe
prize.
she was waiting. Maybe she was waiting for so long for the dinner with Stone Cold. Her dinner was Stone Cold.
Aha, here we go.
Or her request is to have dinner with not with Stone Cold Steve Austin, but with the $6 million man Steve Austin.
Yeah, they send the wrong Steve Austin.
So you just said you wanted dinner with Steve Austin. You didn't specify.
They should have cut the camera backstage to let Austin know that she picked him. I would love to see that.